Hi, I'm Clay Hendricks. I'm the principal at Omaha High School, and we wanted to take a few minutes and share with you our thoughts and some guidelines about returning to school in the fall.
Hi, I'm Shelley Collins, the Omaha Elementary Principal, and we appreciate your patience and time as we work through the process and procedures for keeping your kids safe this fall when returning. We have a few guidelines that we're going to go through. Hopefully, by seeing our faces and hearing our voices, it will reassure you that your students will be safe, and we can't wait to share this process with you. The first thing on our guideline list that we want to discuss is no staff is available prior to 7:30, therefore students may not be dropped off before then. This will allow staff members to be present and ready to take temperatures and screen students. And also in an effort to reduce the possible spread of illness, we're asking that parents do not enter the school building. I know this is something, very different for us, but we want to be mindful of the ability to reduce the traffic. So for now, we're asking that all parents stay out of our buildings if possible. And if you do need us, you can contact the school and we can make arrangements.
And then if you need to check in or check out your student, I know specifically in high school, they're probably old enough, if you'll call us, we can usually just send them out the door, or you can call when they're getting out of the car. Now, they'll be a little bit different in elementary. The parking lot's different, but we'll just figure it out. When you get on campus, give us a call there in the office, and we'll work that out so we keep your kids safe for sure.
And that's definitely different for elementary because we've always asked parents to come in and physically check their students in. This year we're asking that you don't do that, that you pull up. And we have some parking spots in the very front of the building. And if you could just call us and we can meet you at the door and pick your child up and let them in.
So a new definition for us, a fever is defined as a temperature of 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. And all students are going to be screened for a fever before they enter the school building each day. And we're asking parents to pre-screen your children before they get on the bus, and not like at the bus stop immediately, but sometime after they wake up in the morning, check their temperature before they go out to the bus stop, so we can prevent a child having a fever and being on the school bus and potentially spreading illness to others. We definitely want to do that. Students with a fever should stay home. And if your child gets a fever during the school day, we're going to call you and require you to pick them up. And we're going to send out some more information about some other symptoms specific to COVID and some guidance like that.
When students K-3 arrive on campus, they will go directly to their classroom or the cafeteria, depending on if they're going to eat breakfast. And students grades 4 through 12 will go directly to their classroom upon arrival.
And I'm going to have some additional information in some of the open house videos. We'll have different entrances for 7, 9, and 10, 12 in the high school.
All right, breakfast will be offered for K-3 students in the cafeteria with distancing. Breakfast for students in grades 4 through 12 will be served in their classrooms.
Lunch for students in grades kindergarten through 10 will be served in the cafeteria, and those times are going to be staggered so that we can get students distanced a little bit in the cafeteria. In the high school schedule, it's pretty important that lunch kind of stays pretty tight. So 11th and 12th graders are going to have the privilege of eating down the hall in the elementary gymnasium. And we're going to have appropriate, cafeteria style seating.
And I just wanted to add that they're not going to be walking through the elementary building. We'll have an exterior door that they'll be able to enter, and so there's not any, mixing of high school and
there won't be elementary kids in that gym at that
Right.
time either, so keeping them separate like that. So face coverings, a lot of discussion about face coverings has been going on, and we want to tell you our current guidelines for Omaha School District and kind of the way we think that we're going to start the year. So all students are required to wear a face covering when they're on the bus, and when they're arriving at school, and when they are departing from school. And then we'll talk for some other grade levels, there are some other times, but everybody's going to need to wear a mask at those times. We're going to provide cloth face masks to anybody that doesn't have their own or bring their own.
And then the district's going to provide lanyards for K-6 students to clip their masks on while not in use, so we can try to keep up with them. Because we do recognize the fact that our littles are going to have a hard time keeping up with their mask, and we understand that. So we are going to have those lanyards available for that.
And of course, no student is going to be required to wear a face mask while they're physically exerting themselves, like during athletics or PE or any time like that. If K-6 guys go into recess, they're not going to be wearing masks when they're out there.
Students in grades K through 6 will wear face coverings when in the car line, bus lines, on buses, or when the teacher instructs, like we kind of mentioned above. Additionally, students in grades 4-6 will wear face coverings in the cafeteria line, and that's just because it's really hard when they're queuing up to keep that distance. So we're going to ask them to wear 4 through 6 to wear, well, actually 4 through 10.
12, yeah, 4 through even 12, yeah.
Yeah, 12, we're going to ask them to wear the face coverings while they're waiting in line to get their food.
So and then just about high school a little bit, students in grades 7 through 12, they're generally going to wear a face mask anytime they're outside of a classroom. Obviously, PE and athletics, those are different, but generally they're going to have a mask on the bus when they get to school. Once they get into class and the teacher says, everybody's in here or whatever, they give them permission to take it off. But when we're moving around in the hallways and the restrooms, get queuing up to go to the cafeteria and wash our hands, we need to have our masks on. And I think high school students are old enough to be able to tolerate that. And when we can get them outside, when we can get them in a classroom, and it's safe to take those off, then that's definitely what we want to do. We want them to be able to have it off as much as possible.
And we recognize that wearing face coverings, people have very strong opinions on both sides of that. But as a school, we feel like, we're responsible for a lot of kids gathering together, and we feel like in the best interest that these are the things that we're going to ask our kids to do. We know there's a lot of things that we ask our kids to do at school that we know they're allowed to do at home and in other settings. So kind of keep that in mind when you're thinking about, finding that mask or talking to your child about wearing the mask.
Okay.
All right. Students in grade K-6 will participate in recess and specials with staggered times and smaller groups. So we've had a lot of questions about, is my kid's going to be stuck in a room all day long? No, your kid is not going to be stuck in the classroom all day long. There will be recess. We're just going to try to stagger those groups and keep smaller groups at a time.
And over in high school, about 80% of the teachers have been assigned to a new classroom and have made a move over the summer, and that is in an effort to reduce the number of people every student and teacher sees and encounters in the hall between classes. And by moving pretty much by grades, by the office are the older kids, and then you move down into the back building and down toward Miss Roberts' office. That's where the younger students are. It's really going to help a lot with that. Even with that, we're still going to have some sections, some classes that will have a stagger. They'll start and end a little bit earlier or a little bit later, just to help to continue to reduce the number of students that are in the hall. And I think it's going to go well, and it's a routine that we'll work into pretty quickly. Open house, since we are not allowed to have an on-campus event right now, we're going to make some videos, and we're also going to schedule some video conferencing so that parents and students can hear the things that they need to hear and see the faces and hear the voices of those teachers like they normally would during open house. For instance, I know I'm going to make a video specifically for incoming 7th graders who have never been in high school or maybe haven't been in that building very much. And I'm going to start in the parking lot and just video. This is the door you're going to walk in, and there's only 3 rooms that 7th graders are in first hour, and I'm going to show them where all 3 of those rooms are. And hopefully by doing that we can alleviate a lot of stress and anxiety just about where to go to first hour.
I just wanted to add to that. I know it's usually a big event on the first day of school for elementary, parents bringing them in, taking their picture. And I know that this is going to be an adjustment. I know it's difficult, but hopefully you'll understand, our position and asking you to not come in the building on the first day. I know kindergarten parents, that's going to be hard. I am going to directly call all incoming kindergarten parents, and we're going to talk about some possible options.
Let's talk about frequently touched surfaces and hand washing and disinfecting. So, in high school and in elementary as well, we're not going to use the hallway lockers at all. Those are absolutely classified as frequently touched surfaces. As well, they would contribute to congregating and gathering in close proximity in the hall, and so we're not going to use those. An exception, of course, is in the high school in the locker rooms for those students in athletics and PE that legitimately need to change clothes and have a place to store their clothes. We'll use those locker rooms there. We do want those gym clothes in the locker room lockers. And then some other things just to kind of prevent the transmission of germs by touch. We're going to leave classroom doors open a lot. Maybe teachers need to close them after class starts for a sound issue, but we'll be propping those open so every student, every person doesn't have to touch those. I'm going to talk during when I meet with the kids on the first day of school about just touching things, walls, doors, windows. It's not safe. It's not something that we need to be doing right now. We're going to talk about the proper hand washing technique in high school before we go to lunch and after we get done with lunch, and other times students are going to be required to wash their hands correctly. We will have hand sanitizer available for use, at the beginning of class and other times like that. But I know good hand washing really does reduce the transmission of infections. And then at the end of a class period, we're going to ask students in high school to assist or to disinfect their work area. And then we might also, if they've been doing some other stuff in the room, a few students might be asked to disinfect a common area or something like that. It's basically they're going to spray down their area and wipe it down and head out of the room. We do not have time for teachers to and sufficient janitorial staff to do that. When you look at 16 or 18 classes changing in every period, so need some help with that. The following pages, we put together some information about the two options, and we're not going to read through it. We're going to hit just a couple of highlights. We hope that if you're interested in knowing more about those options, you'll read through those and, of course, ask us questions about them. We've been asked a lot about a deadline if you are interested in enrolling your student in the virtual option. And there is no deadline, but the sooner you can let us know. If you've made that decision, the sooner you can let us know, the more time we have to prepare for your student. There are materials and supplies. There is a scheduling issue, some technology. There's orientation for the student. Honestly, the sooner we can get those things started, the better it is for your kiddo. But there's no deadline. You're not gonna run up against that or miss out on an opportunity. And then also, we've seen some school districts have said, once you make a choice that you would between traditional or virtual, that you would be locked into that for a period of time. And we feel strongly that if you need to make a change, we would like to just review that on a case-by-case basis and look at your child and, how old are they, what grade are they in, how are they doing academically and socially, and just do that on a case-by-case basis. And it might be that if you want to make a change, we can do it really quickly, maybe within a day or two. And it might be that we would say, especially I can think of some instances in high school dealing with credits, we might need to wait till the end of 9 weeks or a semester. But instead of just having a hard and fast rule, if you want to make that change, reach out to us and we'll look at it and make a plan. We feel a lot better about that.
We're going to have two options. We have our traditional, but you're also going to hear along with traditional / blended learning. And what that means is our traditional is you're here on campus face-to-face like we've always had before. But if you choose the traditional blended option, our teachers and staff are going to be ready to pivot or move quickly to virtual, meaning at home instruction like we had to this spring. So there may be times where, hopefully we can be on campus for long periods of time, but if there's something going on or the governor, gives us directives, then we would move quickly to that virtual instruction at home, which could include hard copies for those that may not have internet, but we'll look at those options as well. So when we're looking at the traditional blended versus the virtual learning option, if you want to come back to school like normal, you don't need to contact us. We don't need you to call us and tell us, hey, my kid's going to be there. those that we want to know from, like Dr. Hendricks said, are those that are wanting the virtual learning, because there's going to be some, learning that's going to take place,
Mhm.
devices, and some other instructions that are going to take place.
Mhm. So, and that's Ms. Collins talked about the traditional virtual, and then, or I'm sorry, the traditional blended,
Yes.
which is like the new normal, I guess. And then for virtual learning, and we've had a virtual learning at Omaha, a virtual learning program before, and had students enrolled in it, actually from both schools. But if you want to start this school year at home with the support of school, it's online. It requires you to have a good internet connection. The school's going to provide the device. It's the same content and curriculum. Our teachers are going to be helping your student and supporting your student. There are two, I guess, caveats or really important pieces of information about that. One is something that we've done in the past, but that is if you're a virtual student and you want to come to school for activities, or you want to come to school for a basketball period, or you want to come to school for an elective or something like that, you can absolutely do that. We say that that is as approved by the principal. If you want to come to an event, you need to let the office know, kind of get permission, so we know who's on campus. If you're going to come every day to something, we still need to know, just so I always know who is in the building, and especially for safety, who we're responsible for.
And I just wanted to add, if you do come back to campus for an event, your child needs to adhere to our guidelines as well, just to be clear on that.
And then also, in addition to being able to come to those activities, virtual students will need to come to school minimally to do some district screenings and, of course, state testing. And if students are reading on grade level and everything looks good academically, those will be kept absolutely to a minimum. Especially even in high school, if students are not reading on grade level, we will probably want to bring them in just a little more often to do some screenings on them, so we can fine tune the extra things we're doing. Uh, the extra things we're doing to get them to read on grade level.
And
If you're concerned about germs and stuff, we've got a classroom and a period during the day dedicated, so that your student can come in and basically not have contact with anyone besides one school employee or one teacher. And we'll work with you on that. I've always been able to find a solution with parents, but it is something. It's important if student's going to be our student. There are some things a few assessments that we really can't do unless they come on campus. But we will absolutely keep that to a minimum if possible.
moving on to health and safety, we have efforts will be made to limit our physical proximity that we've talked about. We know that the 6 feet is not feasible in a lot of areas, so that's why we ask many times to have your child put their mask on, or if they're mixing with another group. I know in elementary, I'm really trying, I know Dr. Hendricks has too, the way he set the classrooms up. I'm trying to minimize the amount of students that they're interacting with. So my K1 students will be going to lunch and recess together, and then when they leave, then we'll have our 2-3 come in, that kind of thing. So we're trying to really be aware of avoiding the mixing when possible. As always, we know that things are going to be evolving as we get more guidelines, but just be aware that we will be under the directives of the Arkansas Department of Health and the State Department when it comes to our health and safety of our students.
I expect a lot of these things will change a little bit as school starts. I think some things will change as the pandemic either advances or it begins to go away, and also once we get students back. We've done school a lot, and I've kind of walked through the day of different age students and seen things about when they might bunch up or when we might have a problem queuing, and we've done our best to make these guidelines. They follow the CDC guidelines, or in some cases they're more strict because of certain situations we think are going on here. But as things change, we will let you know, and anytime we can make a change to make our students more comfortable, we're absolutely going to do that. So there's our contact information. It's also on this document. It's on the website. If you call us and you get voicemail, we're at work every day. We will be checking that voicemail. A lot of times we're on the phone with another parent and we're in a meeting, but we're checking voicemail, we're checking email. We want to hear from you. We want to answer your questions. We want you to feel as good as you can about starting school and sending your kids back. And if you've got questions about safety or logistics or whatever, please reach out to us.